Presentation of dialogue on Idaho Public Television is made possible through the generous support of the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moore family's legacy of building the great state of Idaho.
Wolves and bears and elk, imagine trying to manage those kind of creatures. The man in charge of Idaho's Department of Fish and Game is retiring, but before he goes, Cal Groen joins us to answer your questions. Join the conversation. Dialogue is next. Hello, I'm Joan Cartan Hansen. Thank you for joining us here on Idaho Public Television, on the World Wide Web, and on public radio stations. Cal Groen became the head of the Idaho Department of Fish and Game in January of 2007. He'd already been with the agency for more than 21 years and already knew his share of controversy. Cal Groen was one of those kids born to work in the out-of-doors. His dad always had to check his jean pockets for toads and worms before tossing the pants in the wash. After working in Kansas and Washington State, he came to Idaho to become the Columbia River Policy Coordinator, helping to guide natural resource issues in the Columbia River Basin. By 1997, Groen was the Clearwater Regional Supervisor, caught between hunters angry about declining elk herds, environmentalists concerned about bears and wolves, timber companies that want to cut more lumber, and land managers who knew decades of fire suppression had adversely impacted habitat.
A lot of those openings have brush that's taller than your head and thicker than your arm. And that's not good for elk, it's not good for certain bird species. That creates a problem.
Groen became the head of the Idaho Department of Fish and Game in January of 2007. Since then, he has instituted new wildlife habitat restoration efforts, established 5 new community fishing waters, oversaw the first regulated wolf hunt in the lower 48, promoted the Be Outside program to connect youth and nature, and reorganized the agency itself, saving $1 million annually. It's a list not unlike the goals he stated when he first took the job back in 2007.
We have to broaden our very narrow funding base. Hunters and fishermen dollars should go to hunting and fishing, but we get stretched and pushed into other areas. We need a broader funding base that if you benefit, you should pay. The second thing is that as a director, I'm concerned about our youth. We call it nature deficient disorder. We must provide opportunities that they reconnect again to the outdoors. I think that's a challenge that not only Fish and Game faces, but parks, ag, DEQ. We'll be working together on that. How do we ensure that we pass on this outdoor heritage to all generations? That's our challenge. We're looking forward to it.
And joining me now is Cal Groen. Sir, thank you for being here. I appreciate you joining us.
Good to be here.
So why retire now? Everything seems to be kind of pretty good. I mean, JFAC didn't cut your budget very much. Everything's going, there's no problems. So why retire now?
Well, it is good, and it has been a real fun ride, but I've been in the field for 38 years and 21 in Idaho. And when I interviewed with the commission, I made a 4-year commitment to the commission and to my wife, Rebecca. And those 4 years are up. I've been in front of the JFACS committee 5 times, so I already counted 5 years. So it's been good, and a lot of the goals I had, I've set out, and I think we're well on our way as a team effort to those goals.
Thank you. Of course, we want you to join the conversation. Give us a call, toll free at 1-800-973-9800. You know, some people speculate that maybe it's the wolves that have finally driven you out the door. Looking back on how the wolf was handled, was there something you would have done differently, or something you think the commission should have done differently in dealing with wolves?
Well, we have worked very hard on wolves. Even the Fish and Wildlife Service regional director said Idaho did everything right. We have good biology, we worked hard, we played by the rules. We didn't foresee that a court ruling, a technical ruling regarding another state would impact us. So looking back, I would be against any regional type management, those broader population segment areas. We can control our destiny in Idaho, but when they get these broader regional management, we can't control our destiny. So we could have, with that type of rationale from the judge, we could have 60,000 wolves and they still wouldn't be delisted. And I think that's faulty thinking. So I think they're endemic. We have them. We have healthy populations. We should just be, we should just be held accountable toward Idaho and not a region where we really can't influence the broader regional issue, because Wyoming's a sovereign state. You have to respect that.
And what do you think is going to happen?
Well, the frustration's building up. I think that the Endangered Species Act has been hijacked. It's gone well beyond the intention of the framers. So I think there'll be an effort to change it legislatively. And also there's discussions maybe on settlement, but it has to be fixed. We have to manage. We're well past recovery goals. It's time that we're allowed to manage.
There's another creature that in the endangered species list that has been something you've had to deal with. So which is harder to manage, the wolves or the salmon?
Well, I think the salmon, we made good progress. And there we needed regional management because they hit a number of different states and countries, but wolves are not that way.
Yeah.
But we have grizzly bear. We have the same issues there.
Yeah. Well, let's get our first caller going. Let's see. Sue in Grangeville. Sue.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right. Hi, Cal. Just wanted to congratulate you on your retirement, and you've been one of the best, and you'll be sorely missed.
Well, thank you very much. That was.
That's a good. There are a lot of people who have complimented you as you've gone through the process. Though there are some critics have said they fear that Fish and Game isn't the leader. The Idaho Department of Fish and Game isn't the leader it once was in the West, even in the nation. Is that? Do you agree? I suppose. Do you agree with that? That it's no longer the cutting edge Fish and Game agency in the West, or would you disagree?
I disagree.
Yeah.
I think we have excellent biology. We have 1,300 elk, deer, and moose collared right now. We set the state of the art on collecting the biology and salmon. You look at Lonesome Larry a couple years ago in the 90s. We had 1,400 sockeye that came back because of good science, good hatcheries, good management. We have excellent biologists. What we are doing is we're sticking with the biologists. We're not advocating, and I think strong biology and data will speak well for the resource, and that's what we attempt to do. But it's a lot more complex than 20 years ago. When you deal with issues, you have water users, you have DEQ, you have ag, energy. Everybody has a stake in it, so it takes a collaborative effort. We can't be lone rangers. It takes a collaborative effort to deal with these complex natural resource issues.
As a director, how have you balanced the needs of science and the pressures of politics?
Well, I think science has a trump. I think you have to let the science speak for what it says and present it. And we don't want to compromise the science. But sometimes when you go beyond the science into value judgments, that's when you get into difficulty. But if we get the science on the table, the accurate science, then there's policymakers, legislators that have to look at it, and they have to do the balancing. But it's our job to get the best science available.
Have you run into any problems where you felt science wasn't heard?
No, I think we've been pushing and getting science on the table. And I think by being at the table in the salmon issue, we're even setting the table right now. Because people love our wildlife. They have passion for it. So it's our job to represent the wildlife and the biology in back of them.
One of the things that you had said you wanted to do, and we put that in the video, that you wanted to try and get that people paying, not just relying on the hunters and the anglers to pay for wildlife management as the system we have now. You didn't get the non-game wildlife is still an issue. How do you think the agency should deal in the future with the population?
It's a big issue. We're charged to manage all wildlife. 90% of our wildlife is not fished for or hunted for. And then you look at the funding base. The sportsmen have done a wonderful job through their hunting license dollars, but it goes beyond it. 90% of our populace loves wildlife. 2/3 participate in wildlife activities. However, less than 25% buy hunting and fishing licenses, and that's where the burden has been. The commission says they want hunting and fishing licenses dollars directed at hunting and fishing. There's a lot of benefits to other wildlife. We need a broader funding source. 31 states have it, but right now the public is only paying about 2.5% of the bill. The average state, it's 20–25%. We have to take support of all our wildlife. We need improvement there.
You had proposed if you play, you pay, kind of a user system. Why do you think that never flew?
I think we take granted for what we have. We have 500 what we call wildlife diversity type species. And we tried on our wildlife management areas to have a conservation license, a simple concept. If you use one of our 30 wildlife management areas or access sites, you have to have a hunting license, a fishing license, or a conservation license. We have good discussions, but we haven't got there. Now you got Missouri, Minnesota, Arkansas, they get sales tax, lottery. We have to go there to support our diversity of wildlife in the state.
The license plates aren't enough.
No. Especially with car sales being down a little bit. You know, we get 800,000 there, but there's much more need there. You know, you look, I live on the Boise River in an apartment complex. People have a wildlife question. They don't hunt or fish. They call Fish and Game. Everybody's concerned about wildlife, so hey, if you play, you should pay.
For a long time, there have been people saying this part of the state needs more influence, or this part of the state. How do you, when you start making a decision as a director, decide which hunting area to close, which wildlife management thing? Talk a little bit about what your job is and how has it changed.
Well, it's based on the biology. We're broken into 7 regions. Our commissioners, even though they come from a different region, an individual region, they try to look at a statewide perspective. So we start with public meetings, the scoping, with the sportsmen, the wildlife surveys, the flights. They make the recommendations. It goes to the Bureau. Then they put it out for public meetings. We have over 100 public meetings on these different issues. Then when it finally gets to the policy group, the commission, there's another public hearing, and they make the decision. Now you look at the commission over the last 10 years, they have been all across the state. So we try to go out, you get in the salmon region, not many people, but a lot of wildlife, big area. And I think we've done a good job there.
Yeah, that is a pretty part of the state.
It is.
The Clearwater, though, is where you first came. Do you have a special affinity for that part of the state?
I do. I love rivers. I love the salmon fishing, the deer hunting, the steelhead, and you know, I could drink a cup of coffee, look at the river, have my boat on the water at 10 o'clock, run it, and be back at 2 with a limited beef steelhead. That's pretty special.
Now, fishing is always something you have done your whole life.
Yeah.
It's nothing. What is it about fishing that?
Well, hunting too. I just love it. I just been fascinated by wildlife, the diversity of it, you know, the wonderful creation of it. So I've just loved it as a little kid. My mother used to tell me, well, you can't make a living doing it. But I laughed with her. She passed away last year. But hey, I've had an enjoyable career.
Well, you did certainly figure out a way. Yeah. Well, let me ask you about the 5 new community fishing areas that you helped establish as director. Tell us about those.
Well, we want to connect our youth, be outdoors, and right now a lot of youth are spending over 45 hours a week on video games, television, and it creates physical, mental, spiritual, a lot of different issues. And so we are trying to connect the youth, but one part is having family fishing waters, and we had a fee increase, but we only got less than half a loaf. They just raised the legislature the non-resident fees.
Right.
But with that, we committed to have 5 new fishing waters, and we're on track to do it, family fishing waters. And we did a watershed restoration program initiative, and that's generated 40,000 acres in improved habitat and Be Outdoors, again, for the kids.
Yeah, the Be Outside program is
It's
very
outside.
important to you.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, we got to connect them. When I was growing up, my dad encouraged me to be outdoors. He always had shells for me, always had a vehicle to hunt with, and he always said, it's better having me outdoors than at the pool hall. You know, kind of an old, and it does. It was good for me. I could be creative, and we have so much to offer there. So we want to share that with our youth. And I take a lot of youth out, I mentor them. And our department has mentored this last year, enforcement biologists, probably 14,000 youth. And you can just see them blossom. They just blossom and they see the outdoors and start picking up those skills.
Let's get to another caller. John in Atlanta. John.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would like to know how we are managing the wolves in Atlanta.
In Atlanta? Sounds like, John, you have a cold. Hopefully So let's ask. I'm sorry. Hope you feel better soon, John. So the wolves, the population near Atlanta.
John, that's the problem. We're not. Just to be candid with you, they're in federal management. We had a hunting season last year, a very orderly season, and we harvested 188 wolves. And we've seen depredation reduced by half, but right now the management is if they're depredating on livestock. Wildlife Services can come out, but that's all handled by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We have pulled back from management, the governor with consultation with the commission, and we want to manage them, and we're ready to manage them when they come. But right now we don't have the authorities. It's created confusion. We've had kind of the dirty end of the stick, and we're waiting to manage, but right now we've given that back to the Fish and Wildlife Service.
Let's go to Brett in Boise. Brett.
Hello.
Hello.
I was curious about the wolf recovery and how it keeps changing over time. I mean, the original recovery numbers were a certain number, and then it just keeps changing, and I was wondering what comment you had on that.
A great frustration. There has been people trying to move the goalposts. We committed, we said 10 packs, 100 wolves, and we tried to manage to 50 and 150, but we have people saying we need 500, 700, 1,000. We are on our 2002 legislative plan, and it says we are going to manage for 15 packs, 150, and we'll manage above it if there's not unacceptable impacts to livestock or ungulates. We have not been allowed to do it. That was the deal. That was the buy-off, and that integrity, that promise hasn't been kept. So here we are, 800, at least 1,000. We're done monitoring because we know we're well over recovery goals. They're there, and it is impacting our ungulate herds, especially in about 10 of our areas. So we're very concerned about that. We want to manage. We manage 10 big game species. We do a good job. We have 12 big game species, but we're not allowed to manage grizzly bears and wolves, and we're caught in that regional management. Very frustrating.
Let's go to John in Orfino. John.
Yes.
Go ahead.
You need my question? Yeah.
You bet. Go ahead.
Hey, Cal, since you're on the way out, I would like to ask you about the elk herd in the Clearwater. We've got about 20% of what we used to have, and yet we hunt them from August to December. What are your thoughts on cutting back seasons at some point?
Okay, on the Clearwater, you're in my backyard now, and we used to have 16,000 elk in the Lola. We're down to 2,000. Just a quick snapshot. We had a difficult 97 winter. We got very aggressive trying to get habitat restoration of Forest Service, more control on bears and lions, longer seasons. And we stabilized that herd. We started improving. Then the wolves came in. And what we've done is we used to have 4,500 hunters in that area. And when I was there, it was 32. We capped it, only allowing 1,600. It's been capped again to 1,000. And we used to have thousands of cow permits. You can't shoot a cow anymore. And that herd is still going down. So we have been capping, making it more difficult. We haven't really crunched down season length, because when you do that, you kind of put more people out there at the same time. But that could be an option that the region could, consider.
Let's go to Gary in Eureka, Montana. Hi, Gary.
Good evening. Thanks for taking my call. Sounds like you answered my question on the previous caller. Sounds like you're like-minded to a lot of us over here on the Montana side of this wolf debate.
Yeah.
And obviously they're not using science to manage the wolf packs or the elk herds. Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, their figures from the Montana flyovers and their elk herds are just really plummeting here as well. Hopefully they're going to start paying attention to shows like this and start managing with science and not politics. But thanks for your efforts.
Okay. Thanks for
Thank
the call.
you.
And let's get If I can get, there we go. Let's see if I can get Deb in Mayfield. Deb, go ahead.
Hi, Cal. Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
I was just curious, if your legislature passes the current House bill, which strips the Fish and Game of its ability to regulate hunting from ATVs, how will you manage your vulnerable big game herds?
Well, first of all, we have 99 management units, and we have about 31 that have ATV restrictions. But that's not just for ATV, it's hunters using ATVs for hunting. They can set up camps, they can transport their big game. But in about 2002, hunters came to us and they were concerned about the quality of their hunt. So the commission did that. It's mostly in the south and southeast part of the state where we do not have very good, it's wide open, people can go anywhere, and we don't have well-defined trail management. So we've been trying to work with ATV groups, stay on the trails, and that's what we're doing. And I think we get adequate travel plans, then we can back off. But right now we have hunting regulations for ATVs, and if we lose it, you're going to see a lot of consternation and between sportsmen. They don't like their solitude. We have different deals. You're going to see a lot more disturbance, people punching way back in areas. So you're going to have to shorten seasons. You're going to probably get pushed to controlled hunts, be more restrictive, and our bigger bucks will be more vulnerable. So it's going to take an important tool away from the commission. I would hope, working with ATV groups in the legislature and sportsmen, we could define trails and back Fish and Game out of it. But the only reason we're in it is we do not have adequate travel plans on BLM property, and sportsmen came to us with a 60%. They don't like it, but they need it for the quality experience. So if we lose it, we're going to lose quality in our hunting, period.
We're rapidly running out of time, so if you're on our phone, stay with us. We'll make sure we catch your calls when we flip into our web extra. I want to ask you what you're going to do in retirement.
Well, I'm going to fish, and I'm going to hunt. I'm going to enjoy friends. I look forward to church work again, but I have a son in Africa, Eastern Africa, and my 3 granddaughters, and they've been there 10 years, and he's working with the Sakuma tribe, and he wants to set up an orphanage for babies. And it's an area where there's a lot of disease, and there's nothing for the babies. And so his vision is to set up the Nema House, which means in the Swahili, abundance or grace. And my wife and I love that vision. We like to assist him. She's a teacher, Rebecca, and a librarian. And my son said he has a lot of jobs for me, and we can enjoy our grandkids.
So when are you going to head?
Well, hopefully this fall, if it comes that way. We've been there twice, but we look forward to working there. Plus, it's on Lake Victoria. And Nile perch are really something. I haven't quite cracked. My son-in-law had one almost 100 pounds, and they straighten the hooks out. So I enjoy all the wildlife and that challenge too. Again, the fishing.
It's a again with the fishing. We still have to check, make sure there's no worms in your pants.
Yeah,
pockets.
that's right.
What advice do you have for whoever's going to follow you in your footsteps?
Well, we have some good people. We have very dedicated, good people, and the commission has been talking to people. And we have a lot of dedicated employees, and we have 3 deputies, Virgil Moore, Jim Unsworth, Sharon Kiefer, and bureau chiefs, Ed Schriever. We just have a lot of talent. So I think we have a corporate culture. It's a partnership, and it'll go on, and we really have some talent in the state.
And what are you going to remember about this job? What's going to stick with you?
Oh, it's a fun job. Everybody has a passion for wildlife. When you go to a public meeting, you never know what you're going to get faced with. When you walk to the office every day, different issues. And we have such a great resource here. It's just a fun job. But I've been pretty one-dimensional the last 4 years. And I'm looking forward to doing some other things and having more family time.
Looks like we have one person who wants to make sure we get to him before we go off the air. Mike in Idaho Falls. Mike, go ahead.
Yes, hi, Cal. This is Mike in Idaho Falls. I met with you a while back. I own that acreage along the river, the wilderness, and I just wanted to call, and I just happened onto the show, and thank you so much. Of all the 50 years that I've been trying to preserve this from 2,500 condos to whatever they want to turn it into and keep it wildlife wilderness right on the Snake River, and after meeting with you and the most understanding director that I've dealt with, about especially when the Be Outside program came into effect, and I met with you in your office, and just your overall knowledge and professionalism and your guidance to me on how to keep it, and all your staff in the Upper Snake River region, and that have helped me with osprey nests and eagle nests and otters, and bringing back wood ducks and harlequin and river otters and everything else. It's still 20 acres of wilderness. And I just wanted to call and say hi and congratulations on your retirement. Enjoy it. And it's been an honor to have met with you and discussed it with you and learned from you.
Hey,
and all
Mike.
your staff. Yes.
Thank you. Keep it up. We need people like you preserving that habitat. So I thank you for your efforts.
I'm going to have it protected so well when I'm gone. It'll be here forever.
And the future generations can enjoy it. That's the way.
And thank you for all your guidance and understanding.
You bet.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. So, what do you encourage your kids to go, your grandkids to go into this line of work?
Well, they're pretty far away. I have 3 granddaughters.
Yeah.
But the middle one loves wildlife, and my son's a great naturalist, and they'll do meaningful work. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. But they can appreciate wildlife and be, concerned citizens that, make a difference. That's what I hope.
So if there's one thing you want people to know before you leave the state or before you leave the job, because you'll be in the state, what is that one thing you want all of Idahoans to know about fish and game and wildlife in Idaho?
Well, that's a tough question, but Idaho's special. We have a spectacular landscapes and diversity of wildlife. We have 70 hunted species. No other state can boast that. Don't take it for granted. Stay involved, and we have to adequately fund all wildlife. And we're in a user pay system. We do not get state tax money, but we have so much here. We have to treasure it and take care of it.
And again, for those folks who are with us on the phones, stay with us. We'll catch your questions when we flip over to our Web Extra and tape that. So, and I want to make sure I say thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show with us today. Good luck with your retirement.
Thank you very much.
And if you want to learn more about the Idaho Department of Fish and Game, we've got links on our website. You can take a look at that. Feel free to look for those links and look on that Be Outside. That Be Outside has a special Be Outside week, April 25th to the 30th, trying to get kids into the out of doors. I appreciate that. Also, I want to put a more personal note. We have on the Dialogue website, or on the front page of the Idaho Public Television website, an interview I did with the late Senator Jim McClure when he published his biography. McClure died this past weekend, and he was an amazing man, and we extend our thoughts and prayers to his wife Louise and to his family. So you can look for that interview and more about him on our websites. Go to idahoptv.org. I also invite you to become a friend of Idaho Public Television and a friend of Dialogue on Facebook, or follow us on Twitter. Thanks for joining us, and join us here next time for Dialogue.
Presentation of Dialogue on Idaho Public Television is made possible through the generous support of the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moore family's legacy of building the great state of Idaho. Check out our website, become a friend on Facebook, or follow us on Twitter.